Hi everyone, I'm going to take a look at the new chapter pack that recently came out on eFootball. This is a nominating contract pack. As always, I'll put timestamps in the description for each player, so if you want to hear about a particular player, just click on the description and you can click a link to go straight to that player. This is a nominating contract pack where most of these guys are 5 stars, just the one 4-star. I will be doing videos for the Japanese and Mexican League packs, which are also nominating contract packs. They're going to be probably going live in the next week or so. So if you've got 3-star and 4-star contracts to use up and you're not sure how to use them on, look out for those videos. Hopefully I can help you to choose the right players. But for this pack, let's have a look at who we've got. So the only 4-star we've got Ueda, Japanese striker. He is a 4-star. Ignore the 5-star rating here on eFootball Hub, as that's incorrect. It's a 4-star striker. He's a bit of an all-rounder. He's got decent pace. He's not the strongest physically, but I've got his jumping up to 80. This is the way I've trained him. I've tweaked the auto allocation of his training points. I've got his jumping up to 80 because if you look down at his skill set here, he's got heading, he's got aerial superiority, so he should be pretty decent in the air. He's only 5'11", so he's not the tallest, but with those skills and the fact his jumping's 80, he should be able to get on the end of crosses quite fairly often for you. He also has first time shot, acrobatic finishing, long range drive, long range shooting, so he's got all your skills for finishing chances. He's a real goal scorer, this guy. As I say, the pace is decent, even if he's not the strongest physically. Down the left, not brilliant on the ball. He's not terrible either, but you just have to be careful not to ask too much of him on the ball. Passing's not great, but offensive awareness and finishing, I've got them both at 85, heading at 76. So he's a decent all-rounder. He's not brilliant. He's obviously a 4-star card. There are a lot of better strikers you can get. If you ever use Japan in the national team challenge, then he could be a good one for your Japan squad. One thing I'll say is that I got the previous version of Ueda from a pack a few months ago. I think it was called Asian MVPs or something, and it goes up to about the same level. He's pretty much the same as this one. And I'll be honest, I do quite like it. It's a pretty good card, but it's not quite as good as I'd hoped. Looking at the attributes and everything, I was expecting a little bit more from him. So that doesn't mean that you'll be disappointed with this guy necessarily, but that's what I have found with him. So I'd be slightly put off getting this guy personally, but he could be good for you. You never know. But bear in mind also, as I mentioned at the start of the video, I'll be doing videos for the Mexican League and Japanese League packs, which are nominating contract packs, and there's a few 4-stars in those packs as well. So there are going to be other options to use 4-star contracts on. So yeah, a decent all-rounder this guy, but certainly not an elite player by any means. And then onto the 5-stars, and we start with Kudus from West Ham. So this is the best version we've had of Kudus by a distance, actually. This build that I've done initially here is kind of a number 10 type of build to play him as either an attacking mid or an SS. I don't personally think you'd want to play him centre mid. I think he's too attacking for that. His defensives aren't strong enough. And wide right, he doesn't have crossing or long range drive. You could get away with it. He's certainly quick and good on the ball, but I think this guy's best playing through the middle. So this build initially is if I would be playing AMF or SS. I'll show you a separate build that I've done for a striker as well. But if you're playing attacking mid or SS, this I think is a good build. He's got the awareness. He's pretty tidy on the ball. Passing's pretty decent. I've had to boost his passing on this build. That's the main difference between this one and the other one I'm going to show you. Finishing at 77 is decent, if not brilliant. Good pace, good kicking power, pretty good balance as well. I've got just nudged the physical up to 70. Looking down at his skill set, he has first time shot, one touch pass, 2 very important skills for any attacking player. He's got soul control, some tricks for all you dribblers, long range shooting, dipping shot, rising shots. So he's got a good shot on him. The one thing he's really lacking is through passing. It'd be nice if he had through passing. If you like this guy, if you pick him up, you might want to use a few skill trainers, try and get him through passing. I think that'd be a really good skill to add to him. But I do think this is a pretty good card. I think as a player in that kind of attack midfield or SS position, as a whole player as well, making some good attacking runs, I think it's a really solid card. It's a good one. I'm quite tempted myself by a few of these cards, and this is one of them. But as I mentioned, I'm going to show you a second build. So this is how I would build him if I was going to use him as a striker. Like I say, looking at his skills there, he's got first time shot, rising shots, dipping shot, long range shooting. With this build, finishing up to 83, kicking power 90, he could have a hell of a shot on him from close range and long range. Got his pace up as well, the acceleration into the 90s, so he's pretty explosive. Balance as well at 90, offensive awareness up to 84. I've taken the points away from mostly from his dribbling and his passing, which aren't as important if you're going to use him as a striker. So just keep that in mind, but still decent on the ball there. And like I say, with the awareness, the finishing, and that explosiveness physically as well. I think it could be a really interesting striker, to be honest. And I think this build probably works a bit better if you were going to use him out wide. But certainly as a centre forward, with the skills he's got and this build that I've done on him, I think it could be a really potent player. It could be a really interesting one. I'd be quite intrigued to give him a try. And then next up, we've got Tierney, who's on loan at Sociedad. So at first glance, he looks pretty good as a fullback. He's obviously got great pace there, 92 and 92. Balance is pretty good. Stamina's decent. Defensively, he's a bit of a mixed bag because the engagement and aggression are well into the 80s, but awareness only 72, tackling only 74, not the best. So not brilliant defensively. Down the left, he's all right on the ball. Likewise, the passing, the low pass isn't so great, but lofted pass is pretty decent, and he's got pinpoint crossing. As you can see there, when you look down at his skills, and low lofted pass as well. But what you'll also notice from his skills is that he's lacking defensive skills. The key defensive skills, you know, from a fullback, you'd want at least interception, and then you'd maybe want blocker, man marking, acrobatic clearance. He's got none of those. So when you look back at the fact his awareness and tackling are down in the 70s, that really puts me off this guy. I think if you're not going to want to waste skill trainers trying to get him the relevant skills, then he might not be for you. I think there will be a lot of people who, you know, fans of teams he's played for, maybe Scottish fans, will be really keen to get this guy. But I think he's only really going to be good if you beef up his defensives, because those defensive attributes aren't the best, and he does lack those skills. So that's something to keep in mind. Really, he's got some qualities. You know, there aren't any major weaknesses outside of the defensive ones, but those are pretty significant weaknesses for a defender. So he's a bit incomplete for me. I'll be giving him a miss. But if you got the skill trainers, you could make him pretty decent. Then we have Disasi, our other defender in this pack. So Disasi's a pretty solid centre-back for the most part. What I would say is defensive engagement at 83 is not the highest. That's a little bit concerning for me. And then the only other real issue is that his jumping is only 79. He is about 6'3". He's a big guy, and he's physically very strong. And he does have heading and aerial superiority, so he's not going to be bad in the air. He's just not going to be quite as good as he could be. So that's something to keep in mind as well, as alongside the engagement being a bit low. But outside of that, it's pretty solid. You know, the pace is okay. Like I say, he's physically very strong, and that is important for a centre-back. Then looking down the skill set, he's got pretty much all the skills you'd want for a centre-back, except maybe his acrobatic clearance. That's probably the one skill you'd like to add if you got this guy and you wanted to complete the set. But he's got pretty much all the other skills you'd want for a centre-back. So like I say, for the most part, this is a good, solid centre-back. Just there's one or two slight weaknesses to be careful with. Then we have Guendouzi, who's at Lazio now. So I quite like the look of this one. It's one of the ones I'm tempted by, because quite often when we get a box-to-box centre midfielder, they can often be quite offensive-minded. They'll be good with their passing. They might have through passing, good going forward, but they're often not so great defensively. But as you can see here with Guendouzi, he's pretty strong defensively. This is the way I've allocated his training points. This is the build I've done. I've not adjusted it too heavily. I've just kind of nudged the defensives up to really make the most of what he's got. So the pace is okay for a centre mid. He's not the strongest physically with his physical contact, but at 6'1", 80 kilograms, he's quite a strong guy. He's got quite a strong physique on him. Balance at 80 is good. Stamina at 90 is excellent. As I say, the defensives are good there. He's very aggressive. Down the left, he's fairly decent on the ball. Passing, pretty decent. I've actually taken a few points away from there, but it's still 85 for low passing, which I think is decent. Then we look down at his skill set. He's got soul control. He's got long range shooting, which I don't know is going to be too helpful because his finishing is only 61. One touch pass is obviously crucial. Weighted pass is nice. Where it gets interesting though is these three skills here. He's got man marking, track back, and interception. So as a box to box, he's obviously going to be getting up and down the field, but when you give the ball away and the other team is countering on you, he's going to get back and he's going to take up good positions, he's going to stick to his man, and he's got interception to put a foot in and try and win the ball back. I really like the look of this guy. You combine those skills there with the fact he's 80 plus for all his defensive, and especially 90 for aggression. If you want a box-to-box midfield who's going to do his defensive work for you, he's going to get back and he's going to do his bit to help break up attacks. I think this could be a really effective card. I quite like the look of him. He does also have captaincy and fighting spirit, which are nice. Fighting spirit, especially with 90 stamina. This guy's not going to be getting tired. I think this is a very interesting card. You know, Not going to be for everyone. He's not necessarily the type of box-to-box that everyone wants, but like I say, if you want a box-to-box who's got those defensive capabilities, I think this is a really good, strong card, and it's one of the ones I'm tempted by, so I like the look of this. Then we have Ansu Fati. It's a pretty good version of Ansu Fati. I can only play on the left, so that's where you're going to be playing him. Again, this is the way I've allocated his points. I've only tweaked it slightly. But you see, as you'd expect with Fati, great pace, great balance, great on the ball. His offensive awareness over 80, which is great for a wide forward. Passing isn't the best. I've nudged it up a bit. I took a bit away from his dribbling, just even though it's still very good, but I've taken a bit away from there just to get his passing up primarily. Finishing at 81 is good for a wide forward. When you look down at the skill set, there's a bunch of dribbly things. If you like doing your dribbling, your skill moves, he's going to be great for that. But in terms of end product, long range drive, through passing, those are the two key ones there. So long range drive, good finishing at 81, 77 curls, okay. But coming in off that left flank onto his right foot, he's going to be able to hit pretty effective finesse shots into the corner. And through passing as well. As I say, I've increased his passing a bit. 78 is not brilliant, but for a wide forward with through passing, I think that's okay. Just be careful not to ask too much of him with his passing. But it's a nice skill to have through passing. So yeah, it looks like a pretty useful wide left player. If you like Ansu Fati, if you like this type of player, I think this is a pretty good card. And then a similar card really with Chukwueze. So whereas Fati's a right foot on the left, you've now got a left foot who wants to play on the right. Again, similar to Ansu Fati, you've got great pace, great on the ball, offensive awareness at the 80 mark, which is great. The passing isn't quite as good as Fati's though, and he doesn't have through passing, so be extra careful with this guy's passing. Don't ask too much of him, keep the passing simple. Finishing at 80 though is good, and again, curl similar to Fati, 76. You look down the skill set, a bit of dribbly stuff, and then the one end product that he's got there, long range shooting, so he's got a shot on him, you know, finishing at 80, long range shooting, kicking power's decent, 83. This guy's really going to be quick, great on the ball, and he's going to be most effective at cutting in off that right flank, off onto his left foot and getting shots away. If that's your type of player, then as with Fati, I think this is a pretty good card. And then finally, we have Jude Bellingham. So one of the better versions we've had of Bellingham. I think the only higher rated one we've had is probably the Showtime one. Again, I've tweaked the build. I've trained him a bit differently to the auto allocation. Nothing major, but what you get from Bellingham here is pretty much what you'd expect. He's a really good all-round box-to-box. He's pretty decent defensively. He's very good on the ball, and with his passing, he's pretty good. I've got his offensive awareness over the 70 mark. I think that's important. He's got pretty good pace for a centre mid. Physical contact and balance both over 80. That I think is very, very interesting. You know, players, especially for a guy who's 6'1", he's a big, tall guy, strong, got good balance. He's going to be really strong on the ball. I think that's really good. That stamina very good as well at 88. You look down the skill set. He's got a bit of dribbly stuff for your dribble merchants. He's got first time shot and rising shots. One touch pass is pretty crucial for a centre mid box to box, as is interception. Fighting spirit is good. The only one really he's missing is through passing. They did add that to his player of the week card last week, so a shame that's not already on, you know, is the regular version of him and other versions like this one. But the good thing about getting these cards is that you can put skill trainers on them. So if you've got the skill trainers, if you want to pick this guy up and really make the most of him, you can give him through passing if you've got the skill trainers to do that. So yeah, just a really good all-round box-to-box centre midfielder. I think most people are going to be looking to pick this guy up, to be honest. He's very neat. So there you go. Only 8 players in that pack. There are obviously some very good ones in there. As I mentioned a couple of times, I'm going to be doing reviews of the Japanese and Mexican League nominating contract packs as well. I'll be putting them out quite soon, so hopefully I can help you to choose who to use your 3-star and 4-star contracts on. So thank you for watching. As always, hope you found it useful. I'll see you next time.